Hello, my name is Jessica Godoy, and for my final project, I chose to do a lecture on poliomyelitis. What is poliomyelitis? Poliomyelitis, or better known as polio, is an infectious viral disease affecting the central nervous system. Symptoms of polio include generalized weakness and fatigue, headaches, nausea, muscle weakness, and even temporary or permanent paralysis. Many people infected with poliovirus do not get symptoms, but if they do, they can be fatal or cause permanent paralysis. Polio in the United States. In 1952, the United States experienced the worst polio outbreak in nation's history. Of the 57,628 cases reported, 3,145 of the cases were fatal, and 21,269 of the cases left people with some form of paralysis, ranging anywhere from temporary and mild to severe and permanent. How did people react to this epidemic? Poliomyelitis was widely feared. It often struck without warning, was highly contagious, and affected large, young populations, causing prolonged or permanent flaccid paralysis or even death. There were beliefs that polio was caused by the diphtheria vaccine due to the fact that many children who received the vaccine later developed the polio virus. Stool samples of patients were reported to test positive for the polio virus, and many of those patients developed symptoms of polio within 20 days. Today, we now understand that poliomyelitis is caused by an enterovirus of high infectivity, whose main route of infection is through the human gastrointestinal tract. Polio, then and now. In 1956, the introduction of the Salk trivalent inactivated polio vaccine, or IPV, reduced the incidence of polio in the United States by more than 90%. Polio is still considered to be an endemic in 6 countries: Nigeria, India, Pakistan, Niger, Afghanistan, and Egypt. There are still concerns today about vaccine-associated poliomyelitis via injection. There are reports of post-polio syndrome, which is when patients who have been affected by paralytic poliomyelitis develop new disabilities, including worsening muscle atrophy, weakness, pain, and fatigue. Treatment for polio. Before vaccines, treatment and prevention of polio included bed rest, pain relievers, and in extreme cases, portable ventilation. It was advised for anyone who had pre-polio symptoms to avoid any form of physical activity, to stay on bed rest, and to move their limbs as little as possible. By 1956, vaccines for polio via injection were available, and by 1962, the vaccine was switched to Savin trivalent oral live attenuated polio vaccine, or OPV, which was administered orally rather than by injection. OPV was preferred over IPV because it was cheaper and was easily administered, especially for children. Differentials and diagnostics. In most parts of the world today, polio is extremely rare, and the vaccine has been highly successful at eradicating the disease. Even though polio is still an endemic in 6 countries, there are other diseases that may mimic poliomyelitis, such as Guillain-Barré syndrome, acute flaccid myelitis, neuropathies secondary to other diseases, and many other enteroviruses. It is highly encouraged for anyone residing in a place where polio is still alive and well to see a physician immediately if acute flaccid paralysis or other symptoms of polio develop. A lumbar puncture to retrieve cerebrospinal fluid and a stool sample may be necessary to diagnose or rule out polio or other diseases. This last slide includes references that helped me make this PowerPoint. If you are interested in learning more about poliomyelitis, they are listed here. I would like to thank you all for taking the time to watch my lecture, and I hope you enjoyed it.